What's going on, everybody? It's Kimberly Flowers. Welcome back to Remote Producer Live, the #1 space to teach you how to start monetizing your live stream skills to be able to produce amazing, captivating, really professional videos for your clients, okay? So today we're talking all about broadcast graphics. Today we are going to be using an encoder with Restream Studio. And Restream is the sponsor for today's show, but we are actually using Restream Studio, but I'm going to show you some things that you can really do to help customize the look of your broadcast for your clients, okay? So broadcast graphics are one of those things, those conversations where broadcast graphics are like the key. It really is the secret sauce for helping you create something that is truly professional and customized and, broadcast branded. And so we're going to be talking about, what are some essential broadcast graphics that you need to have in your shows to really help your broadcast have that professional edge to it. And I'm going to give you some examples of that as we go along. But before we get into it, as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I know you could have been anywhere else in the world and you decided to be here today, and I'm excited to have you and to make this a great use of your time today, okay? That being said, as always, in the comment section, please let me know who you are and where you are watching us from. Guys, let's see. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you. And I'm in the comment section. I'm going to be posting your comments here at the bottom as we kind of go along and your questions. So if you do have questions, please feel free to make sure that you put those questions in the comment section and we'll get to them as we go along. So thank you guys for joining, and make sure that you can hear me. If you can hear me good and you can see me clearly in the comment section, let me know, because that will really help a lot. As well as we go through this, okay? All right, so let's talk broadcast graphics. When it comes to your broadcast graphics, like I said, these are the secret sauce for really helping you to create something high level, professional, and customized, branded, okay? So one of the main reasons why your clients are gonna come to you is because they want you to create something that looks professional. And aside from just the camera that they're using, aside from, the audio or the lights and things like that you're going to walk them through, one of the key elements is to create some really stunning broadcast graphics that really turn their show from good to great, okay? Okay, there you guys are. Welcome, James. Welcome, Heather. Welcome, Yupin. Welcome, you guys, to the broadcast. Thanks so much for being here. So when we're talking about broadcast graphics, what kind of broadcast graphics do you actually need? And we're going to talk about this in sections, okay? I am using an encoder as we go through this process for you guys, so that I can kind of give some demonstration. So if you're looking to create some customized broadcast graphics within Restream Studio, there are some really cool things that you can do in the way of broadcast graphics. But then, with an additional addendum with a video encoder, you can use some additional motion graphics and things like that. And I'm going to kind of go through some of those things, okay? So one of the first things that you're going to need is, I'm going to be going back and forth through here, okay? Is your countdown graphics, okay? Now, what is a countdown graphic? At the beginning of each of our broadcasts, you guys, there is a countdown graphic. And let me just kind of show you an example of this. This is a broadcast countdown graphic, okay? And now what this graphic does is just kind of helps to set the pace for the show and letting your clients, your viewers know the show is about to start. So it should build some level of anticipation. It should be something that looks compelling, something that just kind of, if you can add music to that thing to really kind of set a level of expectation about the excitement of the show. So it has that as a benefit, but it also helps you to kind of bring people into the room. It gives you time as a producer to allow people to log on to the broadcast if you need to do any sharing at that time. Let's just say you put a 2-minute countdown. During that 2 minutes, there's a lot that you can do to help build visibility to the broadcast, okay? And so if you're sending out text messages or social media notifications at that time, then this is a really cool option for you to be able to get more visibility to the client, okay? And you want to make sure that thing, you know, like sets a true level of expectation. So as you can see in the one that we usually do here, you know, you got some motion graphics happening there. You have, you know, the countdown happening, a picture of the host or whatever. That's kind of generally like how we'll do our broadcast graphics for our clients. But we found that this is like a really great way to set the level of expectation about what it's going to be like to join the broadcast, and at the same time, giving us time to do some back end things. Okay, you're going to need that, because you don't want to just kind of rush into the broadcast. You really want to give people a chance to kind of join the space, especially if you're working with live video, okay? So the next thing that I want you, and you guys keep up with me, okay? Because as we go through this, actually, like I'm going to show you the ones that you really, really need, and then we're going to talk about how we create ours, and then we're going to talk about some resources that you can use to create your own DIY customized graphics, okay? Broadcast graphics, okay? So the next one is the logo intro graphic, the logo intro graphic, okay? And all the logo intro graphic is basically like at the beginning of the broadcast, you'll see like a logo, kind of a reveal kind of come in. Let me just show you a really quick example of that, right? So this is an example of our old Beauty and the Brand logo intro graphic. So that comes in and then it just disappears, and then, you know, you're back on and you're saying, hey guys, welcome to the broadcast. This is a really great way that you can, really great tool that you can use to just bring a level of true professionalism to the broadcast, because it feels like it has a start. It's not something that you're just jumping on the broadcast live, like suddenly you're there, and, you know, these graphics just really help to elevate the production value, okay? So that's the logo reveal. And we'll talk about, again, like how we do this, okay? But I'm gonna keep kind of going along. And let me go back over here and check you guys out. Welcome, James. Welcome, Heather. Welcome, Danilo. Is that how you say it? Troy, welcome, you guys. Thank you so much for being on the broadcast. Okay, so let's see. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now let's go back to some of the examples that we have here. The other one that I want you guys to, obviously, is the lower third graphic. Let's talk about the lower third graphic again, okay? Let's talk about the value of the lower third graphic. The lower third graphic is really useful. Let's just show you kind of what it is, obviously. Within Restream Studio, and I'm actually just going to pull this from Restream Studio here, we have, you know, you can create some customized broadcast graphics within the studio. So something like this is a customized graphic. Now, why is it customized? It's customized because obviously there's a picture of me there, right? We're using the brand colors. We're using some, you know, light optic kind of cool things. And this is a static lower third, okay? You can also create animated pop-up lower thirds. Using an encoder with Restream Studio to kind of elevate that a little bit more. Now, one of the cool uses of the lower third graphic is that the lower third graphic allows you to have a sidebar conversation with your audience, right? While they're talking. So like, it's a great way to introduce new guests. So you can put their name in the lower third. It's a great way to create announcements inside of the lower third. So like while your host is talking, that lower third graphic can be showing some, you know, encouraging audience engagement, encouraging them to put their name and like share the broadcast, like the broadcast, all of these different things. But it can also be used as a, you know, a pop-up announcement to a product or to a service or something like that, that you want the audience to know about, but you really don't want to interrupt the broadcast to do that. So customized lower thirds graphics are really, really useful in helping you to have kind of like a sidebar chat with the audience while the presentation is happening, okay? Does that make sense to you guys? So I want you guys to not just know like what it is that you need, but like really what are the true uses of these different broadcast elements that will help you as a remote producer create more engaging content for your audience as well, okay? So that's the lower third graphic. Again, you can create your own customized lower third graphic and place it right into Restream Studio. If you want to do like more of an animated lower third graphic, then you can create that and use an encoder with Restream Studio to kind of make that happen, okay? So let's go back. I'm going back and forth, guys, so you just have to bear with me really quickly. Let's talk about the video wrapper graphic. The next one is the video wrapper graphic. Now, Kimberly, what is a video wrapper graphic? This graphic is kind of the secret sauce when it comes to your live stream productions, okay? And the reason why is because it allows you to kind of have this consistent branding throughout the broadcast. So while we do a lot of different broadcasts, I'm going to kind of give you an example here. Actually, let me just put a little wrapper around me real quick so that you can kind of see what that looks like, okay? So this is an example of a wrapper that you can use on the outside of your videos to kind of help you organize how you want the speakers to be shown in each of the broadcasts, right? So right now you just see me here, and if it's just me talking, I may like up level this by having, you know, graphics on the side of me. Let me just kind of give you another example. All right. Y'all see that? This is an example of just a client that we did their broadcast. And so this is like a little conference she had, and we're using her inside of the wrapper, right? And then you have other graphics on the side, kind of like giving the audience more information, as well as lower third graphic there at the bottom and scrolling text just to kind of enhance the overall feel of the broadcast, okay? So that's a really cool trick that you guys can use, video wrapper graphics. Now, if you notice in here, like there's just subtle movement, even inside of the wrapper. It's like, you know, it's not a static just wrapper there. There's actually a little bit of looping motion that happens in there. And you can create some really cool things using some software that we're going to talk about at the end. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to do all of that. Do y'all find that useful? Do y'all like the wrapper graphics? Those are kind of cool, right? So you can use those to if you're having a conference or something like that. Let me just show you some more. Hold on. I didn't bring a whole lot on here, but let me just show you an example of how you can use video wrapper graphics to organize the speakers of your broadcast. Okay, so like this is just a talk show that we produce for one of our other clients, but as you can see, we're using this video wrapper to kind of wrap around the different speakers there and produce that kind of really high level professional feel. Okay. So that's, you know, you can do like all different types of designs when it comes to your video wrapper graphics. And we actually specialize in the whole video wrapper graphic thing to help you organize and create this really cool professional look for the broadcast that way. Okay. So that's video wrapper graphics. Kimberly, how do we do that? I know you guys. Let me just show you in just a moment. Okay. But let's kind of move right along. First of all, I'm going to go back to Restream and make sure that you guys, if you have any questions in here for me. Can you get all of these with a standard plan? That's a great question. So like when it comes to Restream Studio, they actually have some of their own in here, but we're talking about creating custom ones. So I am going to show you how to do that, how to create your own as we kind of go through this, okay? This is all on OBS, Slobs, or other software. Restream just allows streaming to multiple streaming sites at the same time. Actually, James, Restream does allow you to go to multiple sites at the same time, but it also, Restream Studio has its own capabilities for allowing you to create some things within Restream Studio. And so some of the things that I showed you are used through an encoder through Restream Studio, and then some of them are right through Restream Studio. Okay, so we'll talk about what the differences are. She's explaining layouts to make your streams more professional. Yes, I am. All right, you guys. So let's go to the next one here. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm answering you guys' questions as we kind of go through this, right? So that's video wrapper graphics. The next one that I want to talk to you about is the Stinger transitions, okay? The Stinger transitions. Oh, that's spelled wrong. That was the wrong one, I guess. Stinger transition graphics. Now, what are stinger transitions? Stinger transitions, we use them in our company to help our clients segue from one segment of the show to another, right? So if you have a distinct segments where you're like, and now it's the motivational minute or something like that, right? You may want to use a stinger transition to kind of transition from one segment of the show into another one. Okay, so I'm going to kind of use an example here, and I'm actually going to transition myself using a stinger transition that we created custom. Okay, so here's an example of that. I'm just really going to go from me to me real quick, but you can kind of see how this kind of works, right? So if you say, up next, we're talking about that, right after this, right? So then you see the little status report thing, and it's its own graphic, but it's a graphic that's used in between two different scenes to kind of help you make that transition in a professional. You might see this on ESPN or CNN or something like that, or on one of our remote producer live broadcasts. But we use these to help our clients segue from one show segment to another. Okay, so these are really cool little things that you can do. You can use logos, you can use, words, you can use, whatever it is that you want to use in that transition. And we'll probably do a whole episode on how to create your own stinger transition in another episode. Okay, but let's keep going and let's talk about intermission graphics. Oops, that stinger just came back up. But intermission graphics, okay? And what is an intermission graphic? An intermission graphic is inevitably, you guys, at some point during the broadcast, you may have like unexpected things happen. And in the event that like your host loses their internet connection or your guest can't, jump on or whatever. So like something happens to where we lost the actual host of the broadcast because their computer shut down or whatever happened. You have to be prepared for those things. Okay. So in the event that their computer shuts down, obviously our studio computer is still going. So the live stream is still going. So you don't want to have like, a situation where you're unprepared for losing the host or the guest or whatever at any point, just be, user error or whatever. So we use what's called intermission graphics to kind of bridge the gap. You're going to need this if you're a remote producer and you're producing broadcasts for someone else. Now, the way that this kind of looks here would be very similar to the countdown graphic. It's very similar to the countdown graphic, except for it says, don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. And what does that do? It just kind of lets your audience know that like, hey, maybe something happened throughout the stream, but don't worry, we're going to be right back right after these messages. Or, sometimes we'll even do a countdown for that to kind of let them know, hey guys, we'll be right back in 2 minutes, right? Or however long it takes for you to, in the back end, fix or troubleshoot what's going on with the client. It still gives your audience something to look at, okay? Another suggestion that I would do in the event that something goes wrong with your host or your guest, or you lose somebody, or the audio is not working, or something happens on their side that you actually have to troubleshoot, then, you can also go to a commercial, right? And encoders allow you to kind of be able to transition your live feed into a pre-recorded feed. So you can just say, hey guys, we're going to go to commercial. We'll be right back right after this or whatever, right? Or you could just use what's called the intermission graphic, right? That just says, don't go anywhere, you guys. You are in the right place, right? We will be right back right after this. So those are really cool tools and necessity tool. Like they're essential if you're going to be, creating these kind of broadcasts for clients, because inevitably, you may have something at some point go wrong with the stream, or, just accidents happen, things happen when you're live. There's not a whole lot that you could do if something happens during the broadcast while it's live. But what you can do is make sure that you stay prepared by having something, for the audience to look at, so it doesn't seem like this huge mistake or this huge delay or whatever, right? So I want you guys to consider using the intermission graphic for your live streams. And if you're doing this for your own show too, guys, make sure that you create some of these things. And again, I'm going to give you some resources for how you can either have us create your own customized broadcast graphics package, or give you some resources for how you can start to create your own. Okay. So that is the intermission graphic. The other one is, of course, the talking point presentation graphic, the talking point or presentation graphic. So these are graphics that you'll use to make your points. Like that graphic that you just saw was a talking point presentation graphic, because it tells you the different talking points. Like as we go through them, I'll put up a graphic that says, hey, we're talking about this right now, right? And these are very useful for your clients as well. If they are talking about a specific thing, then you'll want to be able to give visual representation of that on screen. So in addition to not just having a graphic that has some motion in it and stuff like that while they're talking, we'll have the talking point there. But in addition to that, you can also include pictures, like rotating pictures and things like that, or video as B-roll, using an encoder with Restream Studio to really help you, up level this thing, okay? And then let's take a look at, what is this? Oops, wrong thing. I thought I had something in there, but I didn't. Okay, so guys, we've talked about the different types of graphics that you're going to need. Now I kind of want to briefly go through like how we create our own, and then some resources that you can use to create your own, okay? And again, we're actually going to take time to kind of go through this in a more step-by-step sequence in another episode, and maybe it might be the next episode. Next episode, I really wanted to talk a little bit more about encoders, but then after that, I want to talk to you, like kind of give you tutorials on how to create your own broadcast graphics, okay? Now, the first resource that I want to give you guys, we actually use, let me just say that to create our own broadcast graphics and things like that, we actually use Photoshop, okay? We use Photoshop in addition with After Effects to create custom broadcast graphics for our clients. Now, these are Adobe Suite kind of things. So if you're not, a professional graphic designer or motion graphic designer, something like this may not work for you as well. The reason why we use it is because, we do have professional broadcast graphic designers to help design these kind of broadcasts for the clients. But there are some really cool, simple things that you can use, like Canva, to create your own broadcast graphics. Okay, that again is Canva. Go to canva.com. And that's kind of like an online graphics creation software that will allow you to create some really cool things for your broadcast that way, okay? So here's some things that I want you to keep in mind when it comes to creating the graphics and sizes and things like that, like how big does it need to be? And, and again, we're going to kind of go through this a little bit in more detail as we talk through the tutorial side of this whole creating your own broadcast graphics. But for now, I want you to kind of keep in mind some of these measurements, okay, that you want to think about here. Hang on one second. Okay. Okay, you guys. So let's talk kind of measurements around like what size should your broadcast graphics be. Broadcast graphics, depending on, the kind of the output of your broadcast, the size of the broadcast, like if you're shooting in 1920 by 1080 and you're maybe going live in 1920 by 1080, then your broadcast graphics are going to need to be within that spectrum, okay? So what that means is that when you're creating a broadcast graphic, let's just say you're creating a lower third graphic. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm having some nasal issues. But let's just say you're creating a lower third graphic and you want to know kind of like what size your graphics need to be. Let me go back over here, toggle. This is the one I showed you, right? So, the general specs around your broadcast graphics are generally going to be somewhere within 1920 by 1080. Now, if you're going in 4K, obviously that's going to be a little bit different. That's going to be a lot bigger, but you're just going to basically scale it times 4, right? So I think it's like 34. I'm not exactly for sure what the 4K is, but most live streaming platforms, YouTube does 1920 by 1080, and I believe Facebook does 720. So you don't want to create them overly big, and here's why, okay? When you're creating graphics and stuff like that for your broadcast, if you make them too big, you're going to suck the energy out of your encoder, which means it's gonna take more work for it to process those graphics, especially if they are heavy broadcast graphics. And I say that meaning like if you have a lot of motion and a lot of video layers and things that you put inside of that graphic, you want to make sure that they are not like obliterating the encoder because you created them so huge, but you're only broadcasting in 720 by if you're only broadcasting in 720, but you're creating these 4K graphics, like your processor is going to have to work harder, and you're going to have a computer that can power that, okay? So my general recommendation is to make sure that your broadcast graphics are the size of the stream that you're outputting to. So if that's 720, then make your broadcast graphics in 720. If it's 1920 by 1080, which is just standard HD, then you'll want to create your broadcast graphics within that spectrum. So that lower third that you saw, all that means is that it's 1920 wide, right? And then instead of going 1080 tall, then we have it like at 300. So for our lower third graphics, we typically will do 1920 by 200 or 1920 by 300 if it's a fatter lower third graphic. And you want to make sure that like if you're using your lower third graphics where you want to have scrolling text at the bottom, try not to make the bigger one too fat, right? Because here's what happens. You can create a broadcast graphic that is like super wide, but then you're only seeing this much of the host, right? Like, so now it's just like they're ahead and like graphics on the whole lower bottom part, right? So the reason why they call it a lower third graphic is because it should go within the lower thirds of the frame of your video frame, right? So it should be down here somewhere, right? And so you want to try to, a good rule of thumb is just 1920 by 300 or 1920 by 200, and then using a scrolling text at the bottom if you're using it that way, okay? For logos and things like that, like for different things for different platforms, okay? So like for instance, Restream Studio has an area like in the overlay section, you can upload your own graphics, which is what you just saw right there. We just uploaded a customized graphic that we made in Photoshop and we put it into the overlay section of this video. Now, one thing to be careful of is that, like, let's just say you put your logo in here and your logo is 1920 by 1080 and you put it under the overlay section instead of under the logo section, then now it's like huge and it's covering your face and you're like, what did I do wrong, right? And in the event that you're creating overlays for Restream Studio, I want to be very clear about this for Restream Studio, because when we start talking about encoders, I'll show you how you can like drag and drop and do all this really cool stuff and organize it the way that you want it to. But for this platform, for Restream Studio, you want to create a 1920 by 1080 frame and then position whatever it is that you want, whatever custom graphics you're creating. Oh, let's see. Within that, hang on one second, okay? I'm going to see if I can open this up in Photoshop and actually show you guys something. Let's see. No, that's not the one I want to show. I think I'm going to go through, like I said, I'm going to take my time and actually go through this, like show you how we create it in Photoshop, how we animate it in After Effects, and then how we import it into the broadcast. If that's something that you guys want to see me do, then make sure that you put it in the comment section, like you want a full-on tutorial for that. Then I will create something that like is a walkthrough tutorial for how we create those things doing that, okay? Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. If the intermission graphic is a great tip if you lose them. Yep, absolutely. Mac X, yes, you can do this in Mac or PC, right? Any broadcast graphics you create, you can do in Mac or PC. How to design the video wrapper. Yep, we'll show you exactly how to design those in another episode. So we'll actually do a walkthrough design for broadcast graphics. I'm going to do one for Photoshop and After Effects, and the other one I'm going to do is going to be like in Canva, okay? Another resource though that I want to share with you guys is Blue Titler Live. Blue Titler Live. I really like Blue Titler Live because it helps, you can use this in with your encoder to kind of create broadcast graphics on a separate computer. I would suggest you do it on a separate computer just so it doesn't, take up too much processing power and all of that. But it will allow you the option to create, they have some like pre-made graphics and things inside of there that will keep you from having to create them from scratch. Now, as I mentioned to you guys, like 95% of the graphics that you see from Remote Producer Live are created in-house, and they are created with our designers from Photoshop and from After Effects. But there are instances where I can show you like how we use Blue Titler Live to import different things like stats. If you're doing like a sports program or something like that and you want to keep count and score and things like that, but you want it to be on some graphics that look really professional, Blue Titler Live has some pre-made things that you can just import into your broadcast, and we'll show you how to do that as well, okay? So we're kind of going to the end of our time here together. I hope that you have found this helpful, but I want to kind of just summarize in summary again, you guys, some of the graphics that are essential for helping you create a really great broadcast for your client. So the first one is countdown graphics. Here's an example of the countdown graphic. Just a graphic that has a countdown on it that gives you time to get the broadcast prepared for the client, okay? And get them into the room, into the digital space, as it were, okay, for that. The next one is the logo intro. You want to make sure that your logo intro is something that you provide for the client as well. Now, typically they'll just give us their logo and we will animate that, maybe put some music or a sound effect next to it to kind of like help intro the show, right? So most times when we talk about broadcast, the outline, right? The broadcast outline, I'll show you why we create these in these different segments, because of the way that we segment our shows and the way that we teach our clients to kind of prepare to segment their shows is done this way, okay? The next one that we talked about was the lower third graphic. Again, you can have static lower third graphics inside of Restream Studio. If you want to animate your graphics, then I would suggest that you use an encoder with Restream Studio to create them that way and showcase them that way as well, okay? We talked about the video wrapper graphics. Those video wrapper graphics are really cool to kind of help you, especially, this is really another thing about, let me just say about video wrapper graphics. One thing that we found super helpful using those video wrapper graphics is that sometimes your guests come in really weird. Like, unfortunately, you do the best that you can to make sure that your client comes in sharp, focused, looking good, great lighting, great audio, all of these different things. And then their guest comes in and they look low-key crazy. Let's just be honest, right? Like it's super dark and, and they look like you have no idea where they are. They're coming in like, maybe not the way that you advise them to come in. And it's very frustrating. It can be very frustrating for a producer to have your host looking amazing and then the guest coming in looking like, unprepared for the broadcast, okay? Broadcast video wrappers help you organize the broadcast in a way that still shines the best light on the host and on the show, no matter how the guest comes in, okay? So, like I said, in this example here, they're all coming in different ways, right? But because of the way that we organize it, it still looks professional, even if they're coming in, like fuzzy and dark and whatever, you know what I mean? If you don't have the time to be able to coach them real time, obviously when they jump on the broadcast, you'll say, hey, I need you to give me, from the top of your head to like the middle of your chest area at least, so that we can put those graphics on top. But there have been situations where the host guests are unable to make the modifications that you requested for whatever reason. And in that case, having those broadcast video wrapper graphics are going to be super useful to help you really create something that's high, professional, regardless of how they show up. Okay. The other one that we talked about is the Stinger transition graphic. That Stinger transition graphic. Let's give another example of that. Again, this is a graphic that you can use to create a very intentional segment transition, right, for the show. So like if you have a motivational minute, Tuesday tech days, you know what I mean? And you're doing a broadcast with maybe some other people. So like you started off talking about this one topic and now we're going to the motivational minute, and you'll use that, Stinger little transition to kind of do that, right? And then we talked about the talking point presentation graphic, which is, one of the things that I really love to do, oops, let me cut that off, is use motion graphics, use emotion in my graphics. Like even if it's the slightest subtle movement, what it does is that it stimulates the eye for the viewers, right? Like it gives them more to look at. And even when we start talking about video framing, like how you frame them, we tell them from the top of your head to the middle of your chest area. The reason why is because we know that we can fit more into the frame if they're this way. And also in the event that we need to organize them within a wrapper or something, we still have more room to be able to do that. Now, if they're, cut off and they're showcasing themselves like this. Hold on. Let's see if I can do this real quick. Sometimes they show up and they're only showing this much of their face, right? And you're like, ma'am, like I can't put a graphic on top of that, right? So you want to give yourself enough room to be able to add graphics on top of them, squeeze them in tight spaces and things like that. And so that's why we ask for the top of the head to at least, the bottom of the chest area. And that's probably, what I would advise for you as remote producers too, is to tell your clients, like that's how much of them you need in order to create a really cool looking broadcast. All right, we are up. It's 40 minutes exactly. I am going to open this stream up for questions. If you guys have questions. Blue Titler, yep. Prima Erica, thank you so much. Intermission graphics are good tips. Yep. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. Now, I think our next topic, tell me in the comment section. I want to hear from you, okay? In the comment section, do you want our next episode to be a walkthrough of a broadcast graphic, or do you want to talk about how to connect the encoder itself to Restream Studio to be able to showcase these things? That might be a little hard topic. I might make the decision for you because one might need they don't really need prerequisites you can do either one of them. But I do want to show you guys how we create these broadcast graphics so that you can start to create them for yourself and for your client. That's all I have for you today. I hope that you found that helpful. And if you have, make sure that you share this broadcast with a friend. Guys, sharing is caring. And the best thank you that you can give us, for, the value that we're presenting to you right now is to share it with a friend and like and comment. And we love, love, love you doing that. Okay. Prima says encoder. Okay, cool. We will take that into consideration, and we'll see you on the next show. Until then, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye.